Okay, we are trying this again. Let me know how my audio is. That's what kind of threw me for a loop last time. It got real echoey, so hopefully I fixed the issue, but let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. My hair is a little wonky today. I curled it, now it's burp. But I am so excited to share this angel tutorial with you. I painted a Christmas slash holiday angel. What was the same design, but painted two separate ways. So with all the positive feedback that I got, I'm just calling it an angel holding a heart. I'm not real fancy or creative with my titles, but it's the same style of painting. And I posted this yesterday and a ton of you guys said some really nice things. So I figured I'd jump on here and show you how I paint my angel holding a heart. Now, as I'm painting this, I am more than happy to supply you with the tracer and a supply list, and then I'll also post this video into that kind of tutorial. So if this is something that you want the tracer and the supply list for, just comment in this video, and then I'll go back and I'll put the link attached to all of your comments. So this is the original. I'm going to show you how I painted this. So I'm just going to reproduce this. So one of the things that I love about this painting and this style of painting is that I can reuse a canvas. So this was a canvas that I had that I painted. I was painting some kind of antlers and I was going to do flowers, and I just didn't like the composition of it, the way it was coming along. So this is a great use up if you have any canvases that you painted and you're just not in love with. So it's a great kind of recycle, a great use of something you already have. So this is a 16 by 20 canvas, and everything's a little wonky. This is the size of the tracer, and so what I'm going to be using is white graphite paper. I think this might be backwards, but this is actually from Michaels, but you can get white graphite paper pretty much anywhere, any office supply store, most like arts and crafts stores. So what I'm going to do is I just have a bunch of small pieces, so I'm just going to kind of all tile them together. If you don't have white graphite paper, you can also just use chalk. I've showed you guys how to do that in the past. You just take chalk and scribble it on the back of the tracer, and then when you go and do the same tracing step that I'll show you, it will transfer the image on there. So once again, I'm just using white transfer paper. I know it comes in other colors. Just use something that you'll be able to see on the black background. So I kind of talked about this, but I'll back up. So I had a canvas that I wasn't going to finish or something I'm not happy with. I went and painted all of that black, let it dry, and then now I'm at this stage. So like I said, I have this tracer and I'm more than happy to share it with you. So this is our angel, and it'll print out in 4 pieces of binder size paper, so 8.5 by 11 copy paper, and then I just tape them together. So this is 4 separate pieces of paper just taped together, and like I said, I'm more than happy to share this tracer with you. Now if you notice, the paper is a little bit bigger than my canvas. So what I did is once they're all taped together, I line them up in the upper right hand corner. So I just make sure that my upper right hand corner meets the canvas, and then the rest of this will be centered. So that hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So once again, if you want the template, let's see, I'm having an issue with my earbud cord. There we go. Nope. Wait for it. There we go. So what I did was I have this tracer. I'm more than happy to share. If you want the tracer, just put a comment in the comments and I'll go back and send you the link for this, but you'll just print them up, have all 4 pages taped together, and then using white transfer paper and lining it up in the upper right hand corner. So there's going to be a little bit of overlay on the sides. I'm telling you, this thing's going to give me issues. You might have this weird, what side of my camera is it? That little thing. This is just my earbud wire. Sorry, I'm not professional. But I'm going to go ahead and start tracing this. And then that will just leave the white outline on my canvas. And once again, if you don't have white transfer paper, just put chalk white, just sidewalk chalk on the back of these. And then when you do the same step that I'm doing now, it will transfer the lines. I like transfer paper because it's just a lot cleaner. You don't have to worry about all the chalk dust and whatnot, but that way you have your proportions. I always laugh when I do paint parties and they're like, oh, you put the outline on there. I'm like, oh yeah, I got you back. Sometimes I forget which lines I've done and which ones I haven't done. So I'll hold my tracer down and then flip it over and look. But if you don't hold down the original, then you're definitely going to not remember where those lines were. And because since it is lined up in the upper right-hand corner, if you do lose the line, you could probably go back and retrace it. So like I said, I was so excited when you guys shared all kinds of love yesterday. And this one's going to be pretty similar to the Christmas or holiday angel. I don't know if you guys can see that at all down here, but the outline is just on there faintly. It doesn't have to be super, super dark. You just want to know and remember where those lines are. And so once again, if you guys are watching and you want this tracer, and then I also made up a supply list, and then I'll also attach this video that I'm making right now. I'm also going to do step by step. I actually had somebody request on one of my other tutorials if I could also write out the steps. Because if you're watching a video and you have to pause it and paint the step and then go back and rewatch, you know, it can be a little cumbersome. So after I am done doing this, I will also write up the steps. So you'll have the tracer, step by step. I'm going to lift this up. I'm hoping I'll trace everything properly. Oh, I missed one little part of her hair. You notice right here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's okay. I can remember where her hair is. Oh, and I also forgot right there. You know, here's another little trick. If you have a, like I said, a piece of chalk, or I have just, this is a pastel chalk pencil. I can always go back and kind of do that. All right. So I have my angel outline on there. And then this step is optional, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a white paint marker. I have a couple of these. The brand that I have, it's Posca, P-O-S-C-A. I don't know if you guys can see that. Is that backwards? No, it's not. There we go, Posca. You don't have to use this. I just really like these markers because they don't smell and they leave a really nice line. So all I'm doing is I'm going to trace the feathers on the inside, because if you remember with the winter angel or the Christmas angel, I'm going to paint the background a gold, and then I'm going to come back in and paint the white feather texture on top. So the gold will actually kind of poke through the space between the feathers. That probably doesn't make sense now, but once I paint it, it'll make sense. If you know what negative space is, the negative space between the feathers will have the gold showing through, but I need to remember where the feathers are. So I'm using this white paint marker, and like I said, I'm going to paint gold over this. This is just to help me not lose the lines. Because if I paint gold on top of this right now, you definitely would not be able to see these outlines. If you don't have a white paint marker, you can also just take a tiny little brush with some white paint and just go in and paint the lines and then just make sure they're dry. To me, this is just a lot easier and faster. So that's what I'm doing. So once again, I'm doing this just so I don't lose the shape of the wings once I paint that gold. So just like that. And see how fast that dries? If I had done that with paint, I'd still be, you know, I'd have to use the blow dryer to kind of hit it with the blow dryer. So just for time's sake, for ease sake, we are going to use that paint marker. But if you don't have a paint marker, you could also use just a little bit of white paint. So I'm just going to come in here with some gold. And I'm going to do a thin layer because, like I said, I still want to be able to see those white lines. See how you can still see them through the gold? I'm just going to paint the wings gold. Now, this is just going to poke through as I paint the white on top. And this will also give the wings a little shading. You'll see once I start going what I mean. But the reason why I painted those white lines first is because I didn't want to lose them painting this gold layer. So I'm not seeing any comments on my end. I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. I see a few hearts and a few thumbs up. So hopefully, I'm newer to StreamYard, which is the software that I'm using to be able to do this, the two screens side by side, my face, and then also what I'm working on. So I hope that my technical skills are okay and that this is working. This is me doing my crossing my fingers. But you guys know me. I don't get all freaked out when things don't work out. Sometimes you got to be a little flexible in life. It's taken me a long time to get there. And as I'm painting this gold on, I don't care which direction. I don't care how thick it is. I just want to make sure I can still see the lines, the white lines through the gold, and that I paint the entire wing. Actually, here, I'll show you what I was talking about. So here's the original. And see how the gold kind of pokes through those white blobs? That's what we're painting. So we're actually painting this little gold part that'll poke through all the feathers. So like I said, don't stress about it too much. This is a super easy step, but you do want to make sure, like I said, that you paint the entire wing and it's not so thick to where you can't see those lines. Well, and you also want it to be a little thin because you want it to dry quickly. So if you put a real thick blobby coat of paint on here, it's going to take forever to dry. And once again, we're going to have to paint the white texture of the feather on top of this. So you do want this to be dry for that step. Trying to see where my line is. Oh, Christine, hello. She said I can see both screens and hear you perfectly. Looking gorgeous. Thank you, my friend. Of course, Chrissy, you'd probably tell me I look pretty even if I didn't. Flattery will get you everywhere. Are you up today, Chris? Christine has known me forever. I think we first met in junior high. She was one of my bridesmaids in my wedding. I was at her wedding. I've been there when almost all of your kids have been born. Well, not there, but at the hospital visiting. We know a lot. We kind of joke that like we're taking our secrets to the grave because we both know so much about each other. So take my secrets to the grave, girl. I won't tell yours if you won't tell mine. So once again, just using some gold paint. Most metallic paints, regardless of brand, or if you use, you know, and once again, sorry, I'm kind of talking a couple different things. As I'm painting this, you don't have to use these same colors. I'm not going to come to your house and like grade you and give you an F in detention if you don't follow along. So if you want to use rose gold or silver, or when I did the Winter Angel, I did a blue metallic. I just like the metallic that kind of pops through between the wings. So that's why I do that. You don't have to. If you don't have gold, use something else. I know a lot of people are having problems finding paint sometimes, like exact colors. So if you don't have gold, use something else. Or if you don't like gold, use something else. I actually thought this would be pretty in rose gold, but I don't have enough rose gold to do both wings. So as soon as I get down to the store and buy some more, I will probably be painting this again because, like I said, I just really love rose gold. That's why my little bottle is almost empty, is because I use it for a lot of different projects. So when I painted this, when I put this on Facebook yesterday, a lot of you guys were talking about the pinks and fuchsias that were kind of in the background, and those are just naturally blended. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting on here, and this is just a bright red. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's just a primary red. I don't even think it has a fancy art name, but I'm just going to come in here with some red and some white, and what I do is just blob on a little bit of both. And the more I run my brush through those two colors, the more they're going to blend. The less I run my brush through those colors. Oh, Christine says she's sick. Shh, your secret's safe with me. But anyway, so I'm just going to take this brush, and I have red on one side, white on the other. And I'm just going to come in here and start painting my background, going in all different directions and picking up some more white and red as I go. So once again, if I come in here and run my brush a lot through these two colors, they're going to blend. If I don't do that, if I just come in and, you know, maybe run my brush through those two colors once or twice, they're going to be more marbled and kind of streaky. And as I'm painting, you'll notice that I'm leaving a little margin between the wing and where my color is. See that little strip of the black canvas showing through? That's intentional. But if you accidentally paint right up to the wing, the very, very last step will be to go in and fix any areas that need to be repainted. So don't stress out about it, but I do intentionally leave just a small little, like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, just a little margin between the wing and the background, just so that black canvas can poke through. So like I said, as I'm going around painting, I'm using my brush in all different directions. And this is probably a 1/2 inch square or flat brush, but you can use any brush you like. Sometimes I'll use my bigger 1 inch brush, but I just like this littler one. But I like that texture of the, you know, kind of, it's almost like hatching. That's an artistic term. Kind of had a shade, but it's just kind of, or almost like a basket weave. But I'm just going in all different directions, and I'm letting that pink kind of just blend itself. So I just have red and I have white. So when you get the tutorial and you look at the supply list, I'm not even going to have pink on there. I'm just going to have red and white, so that way you guys can mix your own. Now, if you have pink paint, feel free to use pink. But if you don't, you can mix your own or let it mix itself, I guess, which sounds kind of silly, but just red paint and white paint. And then when they blend, you'll get different, you know, dark pink, light pink, almost pure red, almost pure white. And then also a little bit of that canvas will still poke through. So if you look here in the upper left-hand corner, see how you can still see some of that black canvas coming through? That's perfectly fine. I actually like that look. If you don't, put 2 layers of paint on here. You can paint the background all solid one color. But like I said, I like this kind of abstract feel. So I like to use my brush just going in all different directions, short little lines, kind of all random. This is also a good use for like little odds and ends. Like if you just have a little tiny bit of red or pink or white, because I'm literally just kind of scraping and smearing a thin layer of paint because I like that black still coming through. You don't need a whole lot of paint for this. So once again, I'm just leaving a little margin around the wings so that black canvas can pop through. But if you accidentally paint all the way up to the wing, our very last step will be going through with a little paintbrush and some black paint if you need to go back and refill in. So I'm just doing the background. Once again, you can always go back and add more. So like, let's say if I want to add a little more white to this corner. As long as my paint is still wet, I can still blend those two colors. But once again, if I don't want it to be, if I want there to be a lot of texture and a lot of, you know, that marbling, just don't blend your brush through those colors as much. So I might just go like 1 or 2 brush strokes in one direction. And if you are painting this, I would recommend painting the sides. So wherever my pink paint touched the edge, I would paint the edge of that canvas. The only reason why I'm not going to do that is because I'm going to be moving this around and then I'll get paint on my hands and then I'll touch my face and I'll have paint on my face and I'll look ridiculous. So that's the only reason why I'm not doing it. But most of the time I do paint the edges of my painting because when I hang it on a wall, it just looks a little more kind of polished and finished. All right, so we traced our image on with the graphite paper. It's white graphite paper. We took a paint marker and did the lines of the wings in white. You can also use a little brush and just some white paint, just so that way you don't lose the lines. Once that was dry, we painted a thin layer of metallic. In this instance, I'm using gold, but you can use whatever metallic paint you like. And then I painted the background. Since I already have my brush and I have that kind of pre-mixed pink color on there, I'm going to come in and paint the heart. As you're painting this, you don't have to follow the same steps that I do. The only thing that you kind of have to paint in a certain sequence is the wings. Because we're painting the white on top of the gold has to be completely dry. So as far as the sequence or the steps of this painting, you don't have to, you know, you can paint the dress first and then do the background, or paint her face first. But the only thing that should be painted in a certain order are the wings, just because, like I said, they need to dry before we paint the white on there. So just painting a little bit of that pink in the heart. Now I'm going to use like a flesh tone, and this is actually just a really light tan color that I had from another project. But you can use peach, you can use brown, you can use actually, if you don't want there to be like a flesh color to her skin, you can use white. So you don't have to use a light flesh color if you don't want to. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing that I did around the wings. So I'm going to paint her face, and then I'm going to leave a little gap. Oh, you know what else I forgot to trace on here? Is the neck of her dress. I think it's just like rounded. I forgot that part. So the little gap between her neck and her face, I'm going to leave just a little margin of that black canvas coming through. And once again, if you accidentally paint over it, don't worry about it, because you can come back with a little tiny brush and black paint and re-spruce it up. And I'm just leaving, see that little tiny sliver? Just leave it. Don't paint right up to the other side. And then it kind of, once again, it's a fancy word. It's called negative space. It's just the space between those two shapes. The eyeball will automatically look at that as like an outline. Now, because you're painting on top of a black canvas, as you paint, your colors are going to be vibrant, and then as it dries, those colors are going to kind of mellow out. They won't be as vibrant. So you may start off just with one layer, and then as it dries, you're going to go, oh, that doesn't look as good as it did when I first painted. So then you might need to add a second layer. Where it works for us is in the background, like I said, where that black canvas shows through. And if you like that kind of distressed farmhouse look, leave it. But if you want your color to be a little more saturated, just let it dry and then add a second layer. So same idea. I'm going to leave this kind of little margin of space between all the shapes that I'm painting. So even around her hands and the heart, I'm leaving just that little gap. What did I do with my paint cup lid? Uh-oh. Oh, no, there it is. All right. Let me grab another. Oh, actually, no. So I'm going to paint her hair, and her hair, I'm painting her as a brunette. matches my hair. But I painted my winter and my Christmas angel as blondes. You can paint her as a redhead. You can paint, like I said, if you want her to be more, I don't want to say angelic because she is an angel, but celestial. You could even give her like silver or gold hair. But I'm using the same brush that I did for her flesh tone. So some of the lighter brown may mix in. But I also, on my original, you notice I gave her some gold highlights. I don't know if you could see that very well. See how there's a little bit of gold blobbed in her hair? And that's literally all we're doing. So I kind of joke blobbing, but that's all we're doing. I'm just taking this brush with a generous amount of this dark brown paint and just smearing it, kind of smushing my brush around because she doesn't have to, but I thought it'd be kind of fun if she had like the texture of curly hair. My niece has real thick curly hair, and I know most people that have curly hair hate it, but I love her hair. So not that I'm painting my niece because she would yell at me. Maybe I am. She's not here to tell me what to do. But wherever that outline is, I'm just leaving a little space around. So it's kind of like a coloring book. You're coloring in the lines, but you're not coloring all the way up to the lines. You're just leaving a little bit of space. So once again, as I smush my brush around, it kind of just gives that paint some texture. And then if you want to add the gold in, you can just add that gold on top. Because my brown paint is still wet, when I come in with some wet gold paint, those two will blend a little bit. So I want to just kind of smush a little bit, smush a little bit. Just add a little here and there. And if you go crazy and you're like, ooh, too much, let it dry. Put some more dark brown on top and then just repeat the same steps. Less is more. You can always go back and add more, but it's hard to take it away. Actually, if you paint something you don't like, I always tell people, let it dry. You can paint right on top, but I smushed a little bit of that gold, blending a little bit, but not over blending in her hair as highlights. So I'm trying to be good. This is not really painting related. I'm trying to clean as I go. I've been married for 13 years and I love my husband tremendously, but we have very different styles of cooking in the kitchen. He just makes a big fat mess, and then once everything's done, then cleans up, and I kind of clean as I go. So I'm trying to be a better artist and clean up as I paint so I don't have a big, huge mess. Because what normally happens is I just get frustrated and I'm like, I'll clean. It's like a little kid. I'm like, I'll clean my art room tomorrow. And my art room is just a spare bedroom. And I mean, I have supplies like going up the walls. It's crazy. So I try and stay kind of like in a conducive, like, mindset to create. And just sometimes when there's too much going on, I'm like, oh. So anyways, all that to say, there's a little glimpse into my brain. I'm going to grab some more paintbrushes and then I will start on her dress. But see, guys, I mean, I've been painting for less than a half an hour, chatting it up with you guys, kind of, fumbling and doing some other stuff. And she's almost done. We're going to paint her dress and then paint in the wings. And then, like I said, clean up any little edges. These angel paintings actually are a lot. Well, I hope you guys find them. I don't want you to find them intimidating. They're so fun to paint. And they make great gifts. I mean, this would be a really fun gift if you, knew somebody that was going through a hard time. You could pray for them as you painted. I've actually gifted quite a few angel paintings just because, like I said, they're uplifting, they're positive. And then I can tell people, as I was painting this, I was praying for you. If you're not a praying persuasion, you can send them good mojo and good vibes. But anyways, so we painted the wings, the background, or the base layer of the wings, the background, her flesh tones, her heart, her hair. And now I'm going to paint her dress. I'm going to use pure white paint, and I'm going to use this same little, kind of my favorite, 1/2 inch. It's either, they're called a flat, but to me it's square. So I just call it my 1/2 inch square brush. But I'm just going to come in here, and when it comes to the bottom part of her dress, I paint up and down. I'm very intentional with the direction of my paintbrush. Just like I said, in the background, I went all different directions with her hair. We talked about that blobby technique. And then with her dress, at least with the bottom part, the skirt part of her dress, I'm just painting an up and down brush strokes. Now, once again, I'm leaving that little margin of black between her dress and the wings. And as I'm painting, if I have areas that run out of paint, I'm not worried about it because those are going to be my shadows. So I'm coming in here and I'm not worried about making sure that there's an even layer of paint. I actually want it to be uneven. And I am going up and down with my paintbrush. And once again, if you accidentally paint all the way up to, like, let's say as I'm painting, I paint all the way up to her hands, don't worry because we can come back and outline with the black paint at the end. And you'll notice as this dries, this will be a lot more muted. So as it dries, the brightness of the white will kind of mellow out. So you may start to paint it and go, oh, that looks like, you know, a wedding dress on steroids. And then as it dries, you're like, oh, wait, it's not as obnoxious as I remember. As it comes to painting some of these smaller little areas, if you want to jump and use a smaller brush, you definitely can. On the supply list, I just said assortment of paintbrushes because I always tell people use whatever paintbrush feels comfortable in your hand. You don't, I mean, like there are definitely some times where, oh, hi, Debbie. Debbie and Lisa. Oh, I'm so thankful. If you guys are just jumping on, I have a tracer and I'm a supply list. I'm also going to write out steps and then I can attach this video that I'm making right now, this live, as kind of a tutorial. So if you want the supply list, the tracer, the steps, and this video, just comment in this, and have it go into YouTube and to Facebook. So just comment wherever you're watching this. And then I'll go back and add the link after the fact because I wanted to include this kind of as a tutorial. So I can't give you something that hasn't happened yet. So like I said, if you want to paint your own angel, I would love to see what you guys created. I had some amazing people paint my holiday, my winter angel or my Christmas angel. I had one lady that painted with me all the way from Australia. That's the first time that happened. And I was like flabbergasted. I thought that was so cool. You know, when 2020 kind of went sideways, like a lot of us, I was super nervous and I just didn't know what that would look like for my business because my business traditionally is going to restaurants and breweries and wineries and, you know, sports bars and doing paint parties and churches. They don't have to all be restaurants or someplace you can eat and drink. But when all that shut down, I was concerned, like I didn't know what my business would look like. And so I started doing more online and I have just been so abundantly blessed and excited for all the things that have come my way last year. And so I'm so excited about what 2021 has in store. You know, sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, certain uncertainty is scary regardless. Like if you don't know what's going on, it's scary. But you know, there's also excitement in things unknown. You know, that's where the, you know, we don't know what tomorrow will be, but I know there's always good in tomorrow. I know there's always, you know, good things to look forward to. So even though I don't know what my business will look like in 2021, I'm hoping it continues on the same trajectory. Because like I said, a lady found me that lives in Australia and painted my last art angel tutorial. So super exciting. So all that to say, I kind of got off on a tangent. If you paint your own angel, please, please, please send me a message or post on your page and tag me because I love to see what you create. Now, as you're painting, I highly recommend every once in a while, get up, take a step back, look at your angel's proportions. Because even though there's the outline, since a lot of the lines are a little vague, her proportions can get wonky. And when I painted the first version of this, I had to, you know, a couple of times I'd, you know, set it aside and go, her dress, like, you know, this side is way weird or something. So every once in a while, if you can get up and take a few steps back from your painting and look at it with a little bit of perspective, and you may go, oh, shoot, her dress is weird or her wings aren't symmetrical. And that way you're not, you know, all the way at the very end of your painting going, oh, no, you know, I wish I could have changed this area. which you can. Like I said, it's acrylic paint. If you ever don't like it, let it dry, paint on top, call it a day. But it's a lot less frustrating when you catch those little inconsistencies in the beginning. And honestly, even when I painted the first one, you guys can't tell, but there's so many layers of paint on this original angel that I painted because I redid her wings like 3 or 4 times. So I want you to know, if you paint anything, draw anything, cook something for the first time new, give yourself some grace because your first time may not be perfect. Oh, I hope I didn't get paint on my sleeve. I'm really good at doing that. Most of my clothes have paint on them somewhere. Anyways, so give yourself a little grace and know that you can do it again. So if you paint, even with the tracer, if you paint your first, version of this angel and she's not great, that's okay. It's your rough draft. Even the, masters, Leonardo da Vinci, all of the masters, they would draw or paint 2 or 3 or 4 versions, so they would do one and go, I don't like this composition, and then do it again and go, I like these colors, but I think it might look better in more reds. So then they would do it again. So all that to say, the first time doesn't have to be perfect. And like I said, this is a kind of an abstract angel, so give yourself some grace. No, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, and you can always go back and repaint. So now that I painted her dress, I'm going to add some gold after it dries, but I'm going to come in here and start painting the wings. Now you can see where these lines are, and once again, this is to help me remember where the feather shape is. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to use my same little 1/2-inch brush, but you can use whatever brush you like. I may actually change it up and use a smaller brush, but I'm going to be painting the feathers. Now think of this as like, I know this is a weird analogy. Think of it like almost like a turtle shell. So there's the big shapes and then, or like tile and grout. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. So right now we're painting the tiles and this gold is going to be the grout. So, and actually I just had a good analogy. I'm going to bank that one for later. So all these black lines where that black canvas is poking through, that's my grout. So the gold between the feathers, that's what you're going to leave gold. And I'm just coming in here and I'm painting white in between. So I'm going to leave a little bit of that gold showing through, and I'm painting on the white. Same idea as with her dress. Remember how we left some of the texture of the canvas poking through? I'm going to do the exact same thing with these feathers. So I'm still painting mainly in a up and down, fashion. Using whatever side of my brush. This is where I'm going to get real quiet because I can't do real detailed areas and talk at the same time. You're like, finally, she'll shut up. I'm just kidding. But I'm leaving a little gap between the feathers. And if need be, just like I said, how we're going to go back and fill in the grout, and we can go back and re-outline any areas of the black that I accidentally painted over. Same rule applies with your wings and the feathers. If you accidentally, I don't know if you guys can see, but the gold I almost painted over between those two feathers. And if that happens, once my white is dry, I can just go in and touch it up with some gold. So if you need to touch up the gold grout, touch up the gold grout. So I'm actually excited. Well, I'm excited for a lot of reasons, but I have an order of some really cute spring door hangers that are supposed to be delivered today. It's something I'm going to teach as a local paint party. So if you're in the Missoula, Montana area, I have a really, 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 really cute door hanger paint party coming up. But if you're not in the Missoula, Montana area, I'm also going to be offering them as art kits. So if they come today, I'll jump on here again live and show you. But they're 24 inches, so they're 2 feet by 8 inches. So it's a good size. I call it a door hanger, but honestly, you could put it on a mantle, hang it on a wall. But it's cute because it says welcome, and it's got like a little gnome poking over the fence. I'm going to probably age myself a lot here, but what was the show with Tim Allen and Tim the Toolman Taylor? What was that show called? Anyways, remember Wilson, the neighbor that he would like poke over the edge and all you could see was like from this up? That's what it reminds me of. So it's the little gnome and you only see like this much of his face and his nose and his big hat. So I'm like giddy. It's like Christmas. I mean, heck, we have snow on the ground. I can pretend it's Christmas. But as soon as the UPS guy delivers those, I will probably jump on here and paint one for you guys so you can see. Because like I said, they're so cute. So excited. Okay, so I hope I don't lose some friends. Home Improvement. Thank you, Lisa. I probably would have remembered at like 10:30 tonight. I forgot. Oh, I'm not a big, like, I know gnomes are super, super popular right now, and they're cute, but they're just not my jam. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of the gnomes. But this little guy I'm super excited about. I think, like I said, maybe it's because he reminds me of the neighbor from Home Improvement. Thank you, Lisa. But he's adorable. So all that to say, as soon as the UPS guy comes, I was all excited because I saw the FedEx guy driving up my road, and then he like drove past my house. I'm like, oh, what about my delivery? And then I went back and looked at the confirmation email, and it was UPS. That's pretty bad. And you're like, oh, delivery driver, come back. All right, so like I said, I'm just painting the tiles. If you want to think of this as like tiles and grout, the gold is the grout, and the feathers, this white part that I'm painting, are the tiles. So I'm leaving just a little bit of a margin between the feathers and the grout. And once again, I'm intentionally leaving it uneven and kind of streaky because, like I said, I like that abstract kind of farmhouse look. And that way all the lines don't have to be perfect. In my house, we call it rustic. And the reason why we like things rustic is because I am not a girly girl, and at some point I am going to run into something and ding it up or spill paint on it or coffee or wine sometimes. And so if the original aesthetic is supposed to be, rustic as it is, then when I do bang it up or ding it, it just kind of goes along with the motif. So that's my little decorating tip. Not that you should be coming to me with decorating advice, but I like things that look like they have a story to tell, things that look like they've been around for 100 years. Which good thing I'm an artist, because then I can distress them to make them look 100 years. But when we moved into our house, our living room had these big, huge mirrors. I think there's 3 or 4 of them, and they're like, it's a wood paneled wall, and the mirrors are like glued into the wood panel. Jeremy was just going to take them down, and he's like, no, these suckers are like glued in. So I ended up trying to make them look like old mirrors. You know how they have like almost like the kind of grayish black kind of spotting. So I was like using bubble wrap and spray paint. Like, I think they still look kind of cool, but I was like, how can I make these mirrors look 100 years old? So like I said, I don't know if they look 100 years old, but I think they look cool. Actually, in one of the pictures that I posted a long time ago, somebody's like, is that smoke? Because it looks like the distressing of it. What does Christy say? I need a link for this angel, and I'll definitely need to see the gnome. I know. Actually, so Christy reminds me, Christy knows me from back in California, or I know her, I should say. And I don't know if you still have your little ninja gnome, but one time I went over to Christine's house, and she has this little ceramic gnome, but he's dressed like a ninja. So I could get down with the ninja gnome. But yeah, he's super cute. He or she. I mean, you can have your gnome identify however your gnome wants to identify. But it's super cute. I'm trying to see if I did these the same one too. I think I missed. So like, see how this feather right here, and then this one I accidentally painted long? Easy fix. So sometimes when I make a mistake, let's go with this story. If I make a mistake, I do it on purpose so that way I can show you how to fix it, which that's a total lie. My nose would be growing if I was Pinocchio. But I'll show you guys how to fix. So like, let's say you're painting along. Remember how I said, take a step back from it every once in a while and look at it from a distance. So what you may have gone, oh shoot, this side there's the feather and this side I painted right over it. Easy fix. Like I said, we can go back and paint the grout. That's going to be my new catchphrase. We're going to go back and paint the grout, but just so you'll know what I mean. But I can come in here with a little bit of gold and redefine that edge, and then you can see where that feather's supposed to be. You know, people always get so caught up in, am I doing this right? Is this right? And honestly, acrylic paint is one of the easiest, and I think, maybe I'm wrong, but in my experience, acrylic paint is one of the easiest things to fix. So if you paint something and you're like, oh man, I didn't need to do that. There's a ton of ways to fix things. And because I've been teaching paint parties for so long and been an artist most of my life, if there's an art mistake to be made, I probably made it and have actually fixed it. Oh, Christine, your dog ate your ceramic gnome, or not ceramic, but concrete gnome. I hope your dog's okay. Do you have to take him to the vet? Our dog likes to eat like sticks. We don't have a lot of trees on our property, but because we have firewood, whenever we have a big load delivered and then we're stacking it, you know, there's all little loose ends. And so here comes our dog chewing on a piece of wood. Silly dog. But my dog has not eaten any, what do they call it? Yard art. So you topped me on that one, Chrissy. Anyways, so things like that are very easy to fix. And like I said, because I've been artistic and teaching paint parties for so long, I've probably seen almost every single mistake that can be made and figured out a way to fix it. So if you ever get in a pickle, like let's say you're painting something, you're like, oh, dang it, I think I screwed it up. Shoot me a message, shoot me a picture, and I might be able to help you figure it out. One of my jokes is I always tell people that if your art goes a little crappy, I can bring it back to happy. So if you're painting something, even if it's, you know, we're not close by, I can probably troubleshoot with you and help you figure it out. And honestly, that's how you get better at anything. You make a mistake, you learn how to fix it and go from there. Think about when, you know, I don't know, maybe once again, I'm going to sound like I'm ancient, but like, let's say if you are learning how to drive a stick shift car, you know, how many times are you going to stall the car? A whole bunch when you're first getting started, but then you figure out how to, you know, how the clutch works, and then you're zoomed down the highway and not even thinking about it, and, you know, shifting gears and driving smoothly. So here in a second, I'm actually going to flip this painting around to do the top feathers, just because I have short little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. Sorry. You guys are getting me in all my goodness today. I apologize in advance. I should have a disclaimer. I apologize in advance for any cheesy jokes I say during my painting. All right, so once again, still doing the same thing, just leaving a little bit of that gold grout, if you will, between the feather shapes. I'm intentionally leaving all of this texture in the feathers, so I'm just, I kind of say I'm scraping on paint, but it's just because I'm coming in here and just moving the brush around and making sure you can see the brush stroke. You can see where the paint is laid on. And actually, this technique works really well if you have like some crappy paint that doesn't give you good coverage. This is a great project for it because you don't want good coverage. And let's say if you paint this and you do want, like let's say in the dress, if you want the color in the dress to be a little more saturated to have better coverage, just do 2 layers, do 2 coats. I'm coming in here, but like I said, I like to paint these style of paintings that you start off with a black background because it lends itself so easily to this kind of style, but it's a really, really good use because if you're artistic like me, you probably have made either a painting that you just didn't like the composition of it, the way like the, you know, layout, or maybe I hate when people say this to me, or I shouldn't say hate. It makes me sad, but Hopefully they're not talking about one of my paint parties, but I've had quite a few people that have said, I've been to a paint party before, and the last one I did, it was with somebody else, and I wasn't happy with my end result. So if you paint something and you're not happy with it, you don't have to stick with it. You can always paint over it. And black in the art world is kind of like whiteout. It will cover up anything. So if you have a painting you're just not in love with, before you go down to the art supply store and spend some money on a canvas, if you have a 16 by 20 floating around that you don't like, get some black paint on top of it, start over. Nobody will ever know. And actually on my Winter Angel and Christmas Angel, I painted the background like a dark chocolate brown. In the art world, that's called toning your canvas. It's actually something I learned when I was an art major in college. But like I said, so if you want to feel artsy fartsy, it's actually a painting technique. So you'll learn something. It's called toning. But like I said, my biggest thrill in it is that it is a good use for something that would have been a waste. So before you go out and buy a new canvas, if you got one laying around that you don't love, paint on top of it. But they also do sell canvases that are already painted black. I know I do a lot of my shopping down at Michael's. Where I live in Montana, I'm close to town, but it's still a little, I forgot the outline down. It's still a little rural, and so like we have, so I'm actually from Sacramento, California, and then we moved to Missoula, Montana in 2017. And I thought some of our friends thought we were like moving to the edges of the earth. They're like, "You're moving to Montana? It's like cold there, and there's snow and like bears and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Doesn't mean that like we're Daniel Boone or something, but anyways, I always thought that that's funny. People like, it gets cold there, and I'm like, it gets cold in Montana? No way. We love it here. But I don't have the same variety of stores and store accessibility that I did back in California. Like we have one Michael's, we have one Joann's. We have a college, we're a college town, and our college has a really, really good bookstore. So if you are in the Missoula area and you're looking for some good art supplies, like I said, you see me down at Michael's most days. But if I don't get my art supplies from Michael's or Amazon, the university has a really good bookstore that has a really good selection. But if you're trying to track me down and I'm not home, I'm probably at Michael's. All right, I'm almost done with these wings, but like I said, so I've been painting a little less than an hour, and I'm going a little bit slower than I normally would, but I also do this a lot. So this takes you, maybe if you paint a little bit today, I'm trying to see where this goes, set it aside. This, you can very easily paint this a little bit at a time and come back to it. You can kind of paint it in stages. But it also is something that you can easily do, while you're watching TV or waiting for laundry to dry. Just coming in here with a little bit of paint. Almost in the home stretch. Do you guys have any questions for me? Anything I can answer? Like I said, I do this a lot, and I love making art, talking about art, looking at art, watching YouTube videos about art. So if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to pick my brain. I don't know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, but I do know quite a bit, mainly by trial and error in the artistic realm. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm perfectly comfortable like, oops, that didn't turn out well. We'll do it differently next time. So anyways, this is the majority of our angel. So I hope that you guys realize, look at that gold. Woohoo! That's my favorite. Sorry, I did a little whoops. But see how you can even see the highlight in her hair? That looks good. You know what would be fun? I'm going to put a little gold highlight in the heart. I want to emphasize that. When I was kind of thinking of a design, I know a lot of you guys really said kind things about the Winter Angel and the Christmas Angel. And actually, I was very excited to see what you guys created. So if you do paint a version of this, please, please share. But I just know our world needs more love than ever, and Valentine's Day is right around the corner. So that's why I decided to do that. I don't know if that'll show up. Let's see if I can get a little bit of gold. See how I just added a little bit of gold to the heart? There you go. But once again, how I was kind of joking about going in and filling in the grout. So I just have a small little brush. Let me see right there. See how it's just a little rounded on the end? I don't even know if I know what size this brush is, but just use a little detail brush and you can come in here. Oh, so here was a good example. See how I have one, this feather separates right here, but on this side, I accidentally painted it as one solid piece. So I can just come back in here and kind of pretend where that grout would be and just paint right on top of that white. You might have to put a thick coat only because, like I said, my gold is a little bit transparent. But see how I just painted a wing and nobody will ever know that, or I painted in a feather and nobody would ever know that wasn't there to begin with. And another thing, as you're painting, you're looking at this super, super close. When you look on this, on a wall across the room, on a mantle, you're not going to be looking at every single, minute detail. So just because you see something doesn't mean that when it's, hanging on your wall, on your mantle, wherever it ends up living forever, that, people are going to see those little tiny mistakes that you made that nobody else will know. I always tell people, you have to stare at it forever. So anything that's going to bother you, definitely fix. But at the same time, when somebody compliments your artwork, you don't have to go, oh, but see, I messed up here and I did this and that line's too close and, this doesn't look good. If somebody says they like your painting, just smile and say thank you. Like, you can be a humble artist. It's okay. But like I said, I'm going to come in here and add a little bit of gold wherever I want to kind of fill in the grout. That's my new catchphrase. And then where the black outline is, the same idea. If there's any spots that you need to go back and re-outline. Oh, that's not black. Oh, I got black paint. Dang it. Well, this is the dark brown. I'll just pretend though. So like, let's say there's a place that's not really, like right here. See how the top of her shoulder, I come in here with that dark paint and just re-outline it, it's more distinct. So once it's dry, if you want to go back and repaint the grout, as it were, you can go back in and add in those more distinct lines. So anyways, thank you so much for keeping me company. Robin says, like the gold shining in the lines. Me too. That's one of my favorite spots. Robin jumped on and said, hi. Lisa says, my 8-year-old daughter will love painting this. Please share this with your niece, your daughter, with your son, with whoever you will love to paint this with. Because like I said, it's not technical. So, I mean, there are some steps, but, scrub some paint on, go in different directions. You don't have to make it obnoxiously sophisticated. The Winter Angel I've done a few different varieties of these, so I get them confused. I think it was actually a pink angel that I taught inside a art group on Facebook for October Breast Cancer Awareness. But anyways, somebody painted a sweet little angel with, I think, their daughter, and it was so, so sweet. And one thing I love about painting with little kids is they're like, oh, my painting looks amazing. This is so awesome. An adult would never give themselves permission to talk about their artwork like that. So, like I said, that's another reason why I call them pint-sized Picassos, but I love little artists. But anyways, like I said, I'm going to jump off here. If you're either watching now or watching the replay, and if you want the tracer, so I'll give you the tracer, it'll look like this. You print it out on 4 pieces of binder paper, and then you tape them together, and then you use white graphite paper to transfer the image on, but I'll give you the tracer, the supply list, the step-by-step, and then I'll also link this video. Hey, Sandra, how are you, my friend? Let me know. Like I said, just put, I love, the tracer or link or whatever you want, and I'll go back and give that link to you. And if you paint your own angel holding a heart, please, please, please share. So I'm going to get going. Like I said, I am very excited. Hopefully the UPS driver will get here soon, and then I'll jump on here and share another project with you. If it's late, I'll probably paint it tomorrow. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.